Your iPhone can take some amazing photos if you have the right settings. In this video, I'll go over each and every camera settings on your iPhone so that you can take the best photo possible on your iPhone. A quick note, I'm going to be focusing primarily on photo settings this time, but I'll quickly sprinkle some video tips as well. So let's get started. Okay. 70% of the magic happens in the settings app on your iPhone and 30% happens on the camera app. So let's start with the settings app. Go to your iPhone settings app. In here, go to the camera settings section. This looks like a lot of settings, but don't worry, we'll simplify everything. You need to understand one thing. There is no one setting which will suit every single person. If there was one, Apple would have just set it and not given these options to you, right? You have to choose the settings that best fits your needs. As I go over these settings, I'll explain when each setting needs to be chosen and who it'll fit the best. And second, I'm using an iPhone 16 Pro Max. Some settings may not be available on older phones, but I'll call it out when tweaking them. With that in mind, slightly scroll down and select the format section here. This is the most important setting, so we'll start here. Under camera capture, select high efficiency. High efficiency or HEIF photos is a newer compression format. Most compatible is the generally known JPEG format. JPEG or most compatible will create slightly better but also slightly larger images. The image quality difference is barely noticeable, but the size difference is significant, especially if you take high-res photos. Another benefit of JPEG is if you're sending it to someone whose phone or computer cannot render the HEIF or high efficiency format photos properly, like washed out, JPEG might be a better choice. But unless you notice some issues with HEIF, I would recommend to always pick the high efficiency setting. Next, photo capture setting. My iPhone 16 Pro Max has a 48 megapixel main sensor, but it generally takes only 12 or 24 megapixel photos by default. This setting is to tell what megapixel to shoot in by default. If you have picked the high efficiency, choose the 24 megapixel. As you can see, it can take approximately 3 megabytes per photo. If you had picked the most compatible JPEG format, even a 12 megapixel photo will take 3 megabytes. So pick high efficiency and select 24 megapixel by default. Moving on, ProRAW controls. This is where you come to take some professional level photos. You may see this section if you have one of these iPhone models. To oversimplify things, ProRAW is a photo format from Apple which stores a lot more information when capturing photos. This means there is more detail, more information in shadows, highlights, and more color information than the HEIF or JPEG. This is also the only way to capture true 48 megapixel photos on an iPhone. The only disadvantage, since it's storing a lot more information, the photo size is enormous. For example, the highest resolution ProRAW photos can take up to 75 megabyte space. Compare that to 3 megabytes on HEIF. That's wild, right? But that's the amount of details and resolution the ProRAW photos can have. My suggestion, turn on the ProRAW and resolution control. This won't take a ProRAW photo by default. It'll simply give you the option in the camera app. Enable ProRAW photos in camera only when you know it's an important shot. For everyday use, just keep ProRAW disabled and take HEIF photos. I will show all these settings in the camera app later. Even under ProRAW, there are some more extra settings. Let's understand those first. Once you have enabled ProRAW controls, go to ProRAW default settings. The top section says what sort of information to capture, and the bottom section says how to sort them in an image file. HEIF Max captures less detail, but just in 48 megapixels. ProRAW captures as much information possible in either 12 or 48 megapixels, but in a larger file. My recommendation here, since you will turn this on only when you need for the best photos, choose Pro Max to capture every detail possible. I'll give you more tips on this when we talk about the camera app. Under ProRAW format, I'd actually go with the JPEG XL lossless. JPEG XL is a newer format and JPEG XL lossless is a good middle ground between file size and data stored. Okay, as I said, we'll talk more about these when we go to the camera app. where I will show you even more customization when capturing a photo. Next, the Pro format for videos called the ProRes. It's similar to ProRAW, larger file, but with more information for videos. I'll make a separate video on iPhone video settings where I will talk all about this in more detail. Okay, now let's go back. We have already set some important settings, a few more smaller changes to make things easy while capturing photos. Go to Preserve Settings. This whole page is to tell your iPhone which settings to keep when exiting and opening the camera app again. For example, I changed the aspect ratio in the camera app. If I exit the app and come back again, the app will default back to 4:3. To retain the settings, you can come here and enable creative controls. Now it'll make sure to leave it at the last use settings. You can adjust your preference here. What I would like to preserve are camera mode, controls menu, exposure adjustment, night mode, and live photo. Again, there is no right setting here. Tweak it on what you feel improves your workflow. Going back again, under composition, enable grid level, mirror front camera, and disable view outside the frame. Grid is the two horizontal and vertical lines you can see in the camera app while taking a photo. This helps in the photo composition for a more pleasing photo. Keep the subject in one of these intersection points for a more pleasing photo. I like to keep this on. When the level is turned on, the camera app will tell if I'm holding the phone in level. Take a level photo unless you're intentionally aiming for a creative shot. Mirror front camera will take your selfie like someone is taking from a back camera perspective. And finally, I like to disable viewing outside the frame. This is how the app looks with this setting on, and this is how it looks with the setting disabled. Viewing outside the frame messes up my composition sometimes, and I like to keep it off. As always, pick these settings which best work for your workflow. Okay, final setting in this settings app. Go to Fusion Camera section. This is again something which will be present in newer phones with a Fusion 48 megapixel camera. Enable 28mm and 35mm. Keep the default to 1x. This setting enables 1.2x and 1.5x modes in the main camera. You can use the 1.2 and 1.5x modes in the camera app like this. This 1.5x fusion mode is not as same as capturing in 1x and cropping it 1.5 times. Since newer iPhones have 48 megapixel camera, and when you capture at 1.5x, it uses the middle part of the sensor to capture in full 24 megapixel. Since the default photo at 1x is also 24 megapixel in iPhones, capturing at 1x and then cropping to 1.5 times will result only in a 12 megapixel photo. So it's always a good idea to keep this on. Finally, all major settings in the Settings app are done. Now let's head over to the Camera app and see how these settings can be properly used to take better photos. One of the major settings we spoke about was the ProRAW settings to capture larger but more detailed photos. As I said before, enabling it in settings will only bring this option to the Camera app. If that option is disabled in settings, this won't even show up in the Camera app. When it's enabled, and if you see this icon, it's taking a normal HEIF photo. To capture a ProRAW photo for that best photo, tap on it to enable taking in ProRAW. When you capture now and view the photo information, you can see that this photo is now a ProRAW photo with a much larger file size. It may look exactly the same as a non-ProRAW photo at first glance, but it contains a lot more data than a regular photo. If you edit this photo on some editing app like Lightroom Mobile, you can bring a lot more detail, colors, and flexibility to the image. A regular photo will not be able to bring as much detail in dark and bright parts of the image. Check this contrasty scene in a normal photo. When I try to bring down the highlights, not much details are recoverable. This is a ProRAW photo When I bring down the highlights, a lot more information can be seen. Second, the default ProRAW setting is the one you set in the settings here, like ProRAW Max at JPEG XL lossless. But say you just want to take a 48 megapixel photo in HEIF. You can view those additional options in the camera app by long pressing on the ProRAW option. It'll expand to show all of the available options. Here you can pick HEIF Max to just take a 48 megapixel photo, which will be a much smaller but higher resolution photo. And since you didn't preserve the ProRAW settings, the next time you can open the camera, it will open back in the default mode, saving precious storage on your iPhone. This way you can enable the highest setting only when you need it. The same thing applies for video as well in the video mode. It's called ProRes in the video mode. Okay, a lot of settings, a lot of information. Hopefully now you know which setting to turn on for which situation and how to tweak them according to your needs. These are just settings. I'll make a separate video to give you more tips and tricks in capturing a good photo, including composition techniques, exposure techniques, iPhone hidden camera features, etc. If you think that'll be a useful video, let me know in the comments and I'd definitely prioritize making it. Finally, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me grow and make videos that most matter to you all. I'll see you in the next one. This is Sanjana. Bye-bye.